Good evening, and welcome back to another episode, another night of It's Your Life. For those of you who have never been here and who don't know what this is about, my name is Mona Abderrahim Santel from Mind Your Power, and this series is really about discovering your own power and not letting anything that is going on in the outside world now affect the way you feel inside of you. It's Your Life is about you, it is your life. And we have had many speakers from the 1st of April until now talk about their way of coping, talk about their knowledge, whatever they do in life. We have had hypnotherapists a lot, of course. We have had NLP practitioners, EFT, EMDR, yoga, meditation, laughter yoga, breathing specialists. We have had talks that are more on the scientific side, and then we had talks that were more on the spiritual side. So we've had a whole range. Every one of these speakers is really just giving you time and giving you some techniques that you might be able to use. Now, some people cope really well with the situation and others are stressed about what's going on in the world right now. Definitely, it is a change for a lot of us. Definitely, we all are in probably at home still, confined, and have to do things differently. Today, I have the big pleasure to announce a very old friend of mine, actually. We just thought about it. We probably know each other longer than 10 years, right, Kate?
I think so. I hide my grey hair very well.
Yeah. Dr. Kate Beaven-Marks. She is a hypnotherapist and a hypnotherapy trainer and an author. She has written and done a lot of research on hypnotherapy, on hypnosis. Kate is also chair of and let me get my notes because I always get that wrong. So, chair of the British Society of Clinical Hypnosis. And she's on the board for hypnotherapy with the Complementary and Natural Healthcare Council in the UK. And today she will talk to you about getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. So what does that actually mean? Yeah, stretching ourselves, getting out of our comfort zone. And what does that all have to do with hypnosis and with the subconscious mind? And who stretches himself more out of the comfort zone and who doesn't? Who's afraid of it? And how does that play a role in boosting our resilience and making us, bounce back? All of that, Kate will share with you in a moment. So, Kate, I'm very happy for you to be here on the show with us tonight. And please go ahead. It's all yours.
Thank you so much for having me. If anybody has questions, just jump in. And if you want to challenge anything or give a different perspective, you're more than welcome to. There is no right or wrong. There's only viewpoints, I think. And let me start by saying that we are, I believe, our own most powerful hypnotist. Nobody will ever be able to give us suggestions more powerful than the ones that we give ourselves. And sometimes the suggestions we give ourselves are empowering. They help us achieve what we want to achieve. And other times, maybe they hold us back, stop us reaching our dreams, our goals, whatever they are. And part of what I'm going to talk about today is exploring our comfort zone. And another part is the relationship between the comfort zone and our resilience. And resilience is often thought about as our ability to bounce back from a challenge or a setback, maybe by using our personal strategies or ways of dealing with a stressful situation. And I would say actually that we could think of resilience as something a little bit more powerful than that. Because to bounce back, to me, it seems about going back to where we were before, recovering. And if we think about the present situation, bouncing back would be maybe to return to our everyday life. However, I would suggest that we can take that resilience and sort of make it resilience plus, for want of a better term, and not just bounce back, but to get all of the learnings from overcoming the challenges, all of the insight, all the knowledge, the new skills, and actually go beyond where we were before. So to get personal growth, to learn from it and to develop. So we're not just going back to where we were, but we're moving forward in a really positive way. And for everybody, that positive way will be different. So that's where I'd like to start from. Comfort zone's nothing new. I noticed that some psychologists back in 1908, a few years ago now, John Dodson and Robert Yerkes, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, were talking about how a relatively stable state of comfort gives a relatively stable state of performance. So it's comfortable. And our comfort zone is often thought of as relating to our stress level. So if we're feeling relaxed, we're in our comfort zone. And our comfort zone is very subjective. It's influenced by our emotions and where we are from a moment by moment basis on a positive scale. It sort of gives us a state of balance. If we feel in control of our environment, if we feel safe, if we feel secure, if we feel at ease, we become accustomed to this certain level of stimulation. Let me give you an example. Just for a moment, no hypnosis, I promise. Just for a moment, imagine that you've been on the most amazing holiday. Now, the first week may seem incredible. Everything's new, everything's exciting, you're exploring somewhere new. You've got a very positive attitude because you've been looking forward to this holiday. It's something incredible. But by the second week or the third week, if you had a really long holiday, you've sort of got used to it. And we do adapt. Our comfort zone becomes very flexible. Now, something to bear in mind is that change is inevitable. Everything changes. Today is different from yesterday. Tomorrow will be different again. And sometimes we can use up an awful lot of energy fighting against that change. We can push against it, and to push against the energy, to push against that change, we're not being productive. We're not focused on what we want. Instead, we're wasting all of our energy on what we don't want. And interestingly, our comfort zone starts to contract. The less comfortable we are with being even slightly uncomfortable, the more we tend to avoid it. Within our comfort zone, we're generally skilled, we're generally knowledgeable, and we're experienced. So for example, say you're really good at making pie. So you might be really good at making cherry pie or apple pie. There's a particular pie that you're really, really good at making. You can make it with your eyes closed, 3 o'clock in the morning. If you're really hungry, then you can do it without thinking about it. But say one of your friends says, oh, I don't like pie, but I would love a cake. You're really good at baking. Please make me a cake. Well, that might be a bit of the stretch. You're sort of skilled at baking, but a cake is something completely different. And your mindset approaching that can be quite telling. A little bit of an example. Just to amuse yourself, you buy a jigsaw. And you complete that jigsaw. It takes you hours. And then at the end of it, you've achieved that task. So you break it all up to put it in the box. Now, are you the sort of person that thinks, oh, I enjoyed that jigsaw, I'll use the same jigsaw again? Or are you the sort of person that can apply that skill of creating a puzzle and use a new jigsaw puzzle? And that's something to think about. Think about your own attitude towards change. To avoid change, you're pushing against, as I've just mentioned, you're pushing against something that is inevitable. Yet to look at change as an opportunity for growth, to perhaps look at a new jigsaw puzzle as a positive challenge as opposed to, I've got to learn how to do this all over again. It's a mindset that can really either help you or work against you. The law of concentrated attention comes into this. So whatever you focus on is more likely to become realised. And the hypnotists that are listening will probably think, well, hang on, that also relates to one of the rules of the mind, that what's expected tends to get realised. And it's where our thoughts focus. However, starting to think about becoming comfortable with being even a tiny bit uncomfortable is a positive step. And every positive step, every positive stretching step that you take actually makes it easier to take the next step. But what I'd like you to do just for a moment, think about how you look after your health, your comfort zone around your health right now. So some people may be eating extra healthy because you've got time to prepare healthy meals. Some people will be thinking, nobody can see me, I'll eat cake. Other people will just be snacking because it's too much effort to cook meals. And I have some friends who eat out a lot and they're struggling to cook. Now think about your relationships. Think about your comfort zone, about your relationships and your friendships. At a time like this, things will be changing. I've heard of some of my clients who are actually saying, I'm talking to relatives now that I haven't talked to in 20 years. So they're stretching their comfort zone. They're moving out of their old daily routine and using this time to make new connections with people that they've lost touch with. Also think about your work, your career. This is a wonderful time to think about where you are and actually where you would like to be. To start to think about how comfortable you are and how you could stretch that comfortableness to get to somewhere that's even better for you, that will be even more fulfilling, even more rewarding in the future. Now, there are some unhelpful aspects of the comfort zone, as well as giving us this routine, this stability. And as well as having some positive habits, we can get some unhealthy beliefs. So we can start to feel stagnant. Perhaps you can't remember the last time that you were challenged. It might be that you're one of those people where your first instinct is to say, no, not doing that. No, too scary, can't do it. And that leads me on to a really good tip that I've got for you. The next time that you hear yourself say, I can't, just for a moment, stop yourself and say to yourself, why can't I? What's the reason that I'm saying that I can't do that? And it might surprise you if you listen to yourself. If you challenge yourself on that, it might be that you're saying I can't when you're actually meaning I don't want to. That's something different. It might be that it's a financial issue. Or it could be something completely impossible. I can't fly to the moon. Well, that's pretty realistic right now. But sometimes we say I can't when I'm too scared to, or I'm fearful, or I'm anxious. And that takes me on to my next little tip. Anxiety and worry are often where we overestimate, we make a problem bigger than it really is. And even more telling, we underestimate our own ability to cope with that situation. So the next time that you're anxious about something, perhaps you're saying to yourself, you know, it's impossible. Ask yourself 3 questions. Where's the evidence to support this view that I'm taking? Look for the evidence. And then ask yourself, where's the logic in thinking this right now? And then finally, and my favourite question of all time, I think, how does it help me to hold on to this belief? So it might be that you're thinking, well, you know, I can't cope, you know, being at home all of the time. Well, where's the evidence that you can't cope? Because actually, you already are coping. And if there isn't any evidence that you aren't, you know, that you aren't coping, then how logical is it to think that? It only disturbs you. So it isn't logical. And then finally, how does it help you to think that you're not coping? Whereas instead, if you turn that around to think, well, actually, what am I doing? I am coping, might not be the best way of coping, but I am coping. And you can run those same 3 questions. So where's the evidence that I'm coping? Well, yeah, I am actually managing. How logical is it to think that I'm coping? Well, there's evidence for it. And how does it help me to think that I'm coping? Well, it's a more positive mindset and it's going to help me achieve things. So those 3 questions, the evidence, the logic, and the helpful side of things are really, really powerful. Something else that really crops up a lot in terms of keeping people within their comfort zone is procrastination. And a few of my clients at the moment are sort of saying, oh, I just can't make my mind up. I can't make my mind up whether to do this or whether to do that. Should I do this online course or should I read that book? I can't decide. Somebody the other day even said, she says, well, I just can't decide what to have for lunch. I've been thinking about it all morning. Well, reluctance to make a decision is actually really tiring. Just like I said a little while ago, this avoidance actually uses an awful lot of energy. Change-related fear and anxiety can be really draining. So something that's really, really useful is to give yourself a set amount of time according to the significance of the decision. So if, for example, it's about what to have for lunch, it's relatively insignificant because you can have a different lunch tomorrow. So maybe just give yourself 5 minutes. Think or write down the pros and the cons. And at the end of that 5 minutes, go, okay, it's going to be a sandwich. Knowing that the next time that decision comes up, you're going to be more informed. Now, you might want to spend a little bit longer deciding on a new car or a new house, but allowing the significance to determine your decision making can be quite a useful tip. So just allocating a small amount of time and just going for it, taking responsibility for your decision and just saying to yourself, you know what, I accept that not all of the time will I make the right decision, but I'm going to give it all of my attention when I'm actually thinking about what I want to do. I'm going to talk a little bit about going beyond the comfort zone. And for me, there's 2 areas beyond the comfort zone. There's the optimal performance zone, and then there's also the overload zone. Now, the optimal performance zone does have a little bit more stress, and we tend to think of that as optimal anxiety. It's the sort of stress, or you might think of it as stimulation, that gets you out of bed on Christmas morning and like, oh, this is so exciting. Or it gets you up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go to the airport for that holiday. It's a positive stress. You're going to be doing something for you, something important, something that's going to help you grow and develop. So it's a positive boost. And to go beyond your comfort zone, it will often take a little bit more effort. Just the same as if you went to the gym and did exactly the same routine every single time. You just become familiar with it. You wouldn't necessarily get any fitter or more muscles or whatever it is that you're working for, or more flexible. I remember Mona saying she was doing yoga the other day. Definitely an accumulated skill. And optimal performance zone is a great place to be. Not all of the time, but to go there from time to time is beneficial. Where is less beneficial is this overload zone. And it's thought that if we move too far beyond optimal, then we can become too anxious, too stressed to actually be able to focus sufficiently to be productive. So it's a fine line, and it's something that I suggest certainly to my clients that you work on progressively. So you learn how to push yourself. So working on the little stimulations before going in for something amazing. For example, if you're working on decision making, maybe think about what you're going to be doing this week, next week, maybe how you're going to redecorate your living room, or what you want to add into your kitchen, as opposed to which country you want to move to next year. So keeping it relatively comfortable to start with. So going beyond your comfort zone can lead to something called productive discomfort. And you develop a skill of coping with change. Now, it might seem that right now, where a lot of people think it sort of feels a bit like we're in limbo. We're just drifting on from moment to moment. A lot of people will say every day feels like the same. And it can do. However, that to some extent is a personal choice. A lot of people may have felt that they've had a holiday for a while, and now you're getting into a different mindset. And it is change. But the more you cope with new changes, the more you can. And you develop this habit of being able to cope with change. So an area that can be really useful is to do one thing every day that challenges you. And at the point at which you notice feeling just that little bit uncomfortable, recognize it as a growth point. And if anything, congratulate yourself on the success of moving beyond your comfort zone, having a little bit of personal awareness and recognizing, well, actually, making this cake for my friend is a bit of a challenge. I'm following a recipe. I'm not doing things automatically, but yeah, I'm feeling quite proud of myself for being able to do this, to move beyond what was comfortable. For other people, it might be something about relationships. So taking time to strengthen your relationships and create a solid support network before you start expanding your comfort zone. Having people there that have got your back, that are like the roots to your tree, that are there to hold you in place so that you've got the flexibility to move. So it might be for you to expand your comfort zone, it's to regularly spend quality time with people that you care about. For other people, it may well be this paying attention to being decisive and allowing decision-making time. Whatever it is, it all comes down to focusing on growth, to taking time, perhaps each day, to do something a little bit challenging. Because every time you do something just that little bit challenging, whether it goes well or not, and if it doesn't go well, it can be good to think of it as a learning example so that you can do it differently next time. But everything that you do to push yourself helps you build this sense of ability to cope with change. So the more you become comfortable with being a little bit uncomfortable, the more flexible you are. And then as things change over the next few weeks, the next few months, it becomes a skill that you can take forward and that you can apply to any other part of your life. So, as I say, being uncomfortable not only just boosts your ability to bounce back, but it starts to give you skills that you can apply to pretty much anything. So, that was quite a lot, and it was just about the half an hour that I said to Mona it was going to last for. Do we have any questions?
Kate, I am very curious, maybe to hear some comments from a couple of people. What have you done? You know, like you said, we are in a time where we are faced with change anyway. Yeah. So what have you done to stretch yourself? Have you gone out of your comfort zones? You know, to give you just a little bit time to think. I have certainly gone out of my comfort zone with what I am doing right here, because I thought I will just start a little series with a couple of interviews, and it became a more or less full-time job, with editing videos, with sorting out, organizing. And for the people who know me know that I don't like to organize things. So this has certainly been beyond my comfort zone, and has, yes, like you just said, and I think that's a really important thing, it has taught me that there are a lot of skills that I learned and that I can do that I never thought I could. Okay, so anyone else?
Come on, be brave, stretch your comfort zone.
Repatriation flight tomorrow, yes. Scary to be on that flight tomorrow. That's definitely maybe going out of the comfort zone. Yep.
So again, there, for something that's scary, it can be good to perhaps address what the scary parts are, notice what's within your control and what's outside of your control, and for anything that you can deal with, whether it's using things positively. So if you've mentioned redirecting the butterflies, absolutely, all of that nervous stimulation, perhaps put it to productive use. And it's sometimes it's about saying this situation is actually quite scary. So how can I flip my mindset and turn it from scary, not necessarily to excited, but to productive? What can I do with this heightened stimulation to actually make it useful? Use the stimulation, do some writing. Use it productively. It might be that you take a notebook and your next book is started on that flight.
Actually, I managed to stretch my comfort zone regarding doing some social media appearances like videos and Facebook Lives and all of this. Yet, I still could not manage to change my limiting beliefs about sales. So I'm still outsourcing the business aspect of my work, because somewhere in my head, salespeople are annoying. So I don't like to. I talk to everybody all the time, but I don't like the sales aspect of it. So whenever I need to talk to someone about sales, especially that now I do have the hypnotherapy certification, I stopped myself and I did not try to do it yet.
I hear that commonly because, as Mona might have mentioned earlier, Rory, my business partner, myself, we teach hypnotherapists a lot. And one of the things that comes up a lot, and it might be what you're feeling or not, is that people think in terms of sales about selling themselves, whether they directly think that or not. But actually, maybe flip that over and think about the fact that you're not even necessarily selling the therapy, the work that you do. You're helping people understand that there's something out there that can help them.
No.
That they may not know about. So not necessarily thinking about selling, but in a way think about educating. So this is what this is how it can help you, and these are the benefits that you'll get from that. So you're not necessarily saying, I am selling you this package of hypnotherapy. It's more that, what would it be like to move beyond this phobia, to be able to have holidays where you want them, whatever it is. So it can be helpful, I think, to think about what's in it for them. And sales is often what's in it for me, the seller.
Yeah.
Whereas actually think about what's in it for them. What do they need that you can signpost them towards? So you're maybe a provider of information rather than a salesperson.
We have a couple of comments here, Kate. For me, the lockdown was very comfortable. The challenge is how to go back to normal life without having a clear vision of what's next.
That's a really good point, because I think in a way, my view is that we're going to have a new normal. And that new normal may be evolving over the next week and month and even the next 2 or 3 years. And some things may change forever. It's almost like there's a loss of innocence that something like this could never happen, because it has happened. So some of this is maybe about having a flexible way of thinking and having flexible goals. So it might be that these are the things that I would like to achieve. So within the next 5 years, I would like to have published this book. Within the next 2 years, I would like to be able to do this or this with my business. And to have flexible goals is often a good way of coping with uncertainty. It still gives you something to work towards, as opposed to coming away from and focusing on what you don't want. So focusing on what you want, I think now is a really, really good time to start thinking about what you want your normal life to be. Because it's a time at the moment now where we are, in a way, so lucky that we're paused, because we actually can stop and think, well, was it going how I wanted it to go? Did I actually like all of what I was doing? Or thinking about it now and really paying attention and being honest with myself, did I just get on a treadmill, or were there aspects of this part of my life that I could change? So now you get to change your new normal, which is quite a positive thing to think about, I think.
Yes, hi, how are you? Actually, for me, this lockdown was very timely for the changes that I've been trying to incorporate and never had the time to do, because we're always doing things and not being enough. And this gave me the opportunity to really be with myself, to go within, to reflect. And now I have a better vision of where I want to be, and I developed the courage to do videos. I go live on my social media. I'm putting myself more out there for the public, and I think now it's going to be difficult to go back to normal life after this, really. I mean, we got used to having all the time in the world we need to do all the things we want. And so now I feel it's time to set priorities, to set proper goals, and probably take some action plans. But there is still uncertainty about how to go about taking action when everything around you is so unsettling. And especially in Lebanon, maybe Mona, we have a lot of more other challenges than simply the corona. where it comes to work and money and that. So there is this not fear, but the uncomfort of the unknown, the future, that even if I set goals and do action plans, when will I be able to take them? When will I be able to do the steps? Living in this uncertainty is a little bit challenging, and that's the most actually challenging for me.
It can be a useful tip for that, I found, is that particularly if you're living in an area where it can be turbulent as well, it can be very useful to have a whole range of goals. So absolutely have your 5-year goals and have your 3-year and 1-year goals and even sort of 6 months, but also think in terms of today's goal and this week's goal, because with the knowledge that you have now, you're going to have a clearer idea of what you can achieve tomorrow. You might not be able to know what you're going to do in 3 months' time, but for today, you know what you could do tomorrow. So breaking down your big goals into little goals enables you to be more flexible because you can take different paths, but it also enables you to still work towards those. Now, if you want to write a book, the very first thing you need to do is to put one word onto that sheet of paper or into that Word document. And trust me, I think my second book that I've just published was 350 pages. It still started with one word. So, little tiny goals, and it can really help in times of uncertainty. You set your goal for tomorrow, you achieve your goal for tomorrow, or you reflect on it and adapt it for the day after. The self-esteem boost that you'll have from doing that is great. You wake up in the morning and think, I have a plan for today. I'm going to do this. And that is a really positive thing wherever you are. So hopefully that will help.
And we have another comment here who says, I don't like to talk on the phone, but I am calling people who are having difficulty with this situation, and I try to use humor and make them laugh.
Absolutely, yes. We can't be anxious and amused at the same time. So helping somebody come out of an anxious state into an amused state can be helpful. Sometimes just having that contact with somebody, and it isn't to say that you're making light of a serious situation, but to just have moments of lightness can create balance, and balance can be a very useful thing for anybody. So well done, Nan.
I guess a lot of times when we are pushed to actually change something like we are now, sometimes we might realize that what was our comfort zone wasn't really comfortable to us, right? Sometimes we just do and do and do because it's a routine. But then actually, when we think about it and we have the time to think about it, like, a lot of them were saying, we feel much more comfortable now. We're feeling good now. We have the time now to think about ourselves and our goals and where do we want to go, and we're happy now. And then we think back and think, actually, I wasn't that happy in what I thought was my comfort zone. Right?
And that's true, because our comfort zone doesn't necessarily make us happy. It can be a neutral zone. It might just be something that is low stress, low anxiety, but it's moderate happiness, or it's a neutral level of happiness. Sometimes, and it can depend on whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. For introverts, it's the little achievements that give introverts their boosts. For extroverts, it's those bigger wins that tend to be the more stimulating ones. So it's one of those things that knowing yourself, knowing whether you do benefit from sort of little tasks, little achievements, or those big goals and big wins, that can help you move beyond your comfort zone as well. And I totally take your point that we can get stuck into a routine that may be necessary, but it may not be fulfilling. So again, doing something a little bit challenging, positive, but a little bit challenging, can help you show yourself that you can achieve more. Many people have got over the shock of being locked down, being restricted. I think now is the time when perhaps we can start to focus even a tiny bit on our own personal growth and taking a little bit of time to think about what we want as individuals, what fulfills us, what boosts us, before we get back into the routine of work and home and family and shopping and cleaning and all the everyday, routine, normal things that we do. We can use this time perhaps to think about what would give us more as individuals. So a little bit more towards personal fulfillment.
Like you said at the beginning, Kate, when you started, you said change is inevitable, and change is happening all the time. And maybe sometimes we need that push, we need that radical change to make us really step back to be able to move forward then. Yeah. Thank you so much, Kate. I think this is really, the purpose of this whole talks that we're doing. A lot of times it makes sense, or it is common sense, and we know all of that. But, really talking about it, discussing it, getting other views just pushes us more to be even more productive, to understand, to do things more consciously and not just out of routine and unconscious. So thank you a lot, Kate, for that talk today. I want to thank everybody else who was on the call today. If any one of you would like to speak in this series, please do send me an email at mona, M-O-N-A, @mindyourpower.org. I believe everybody has the ability to share something. We all have something very unique and very special. We don't need to be a therapist. We don't need to have a doctorate in something or have a lot of experience. Sometimes we learn from children very, very much. So, and I would like to extend that speaking opportunity that until now was only for hypnotherapists and EFT, NLP practitioners, psychologists, etc., to everybody. So please, if you have a story to share, something useful, something positive that can help the world that you would like other people to hear, please send me an email. Now, for everybody else, please register at the link that is below the video to get my daily emails with who is the speaker of today. We have had daily calls because many people were confined. Starting from the 15th of May, this series will continue, but it will be weekly. So you can still register and get my weekly emails and of course the replays. If you would like to see the replays because you haven't heard all of them, you can go to my website, which is mindyourpower.org/itsyourlife/all speakers, and the link is also below here. You just click on it and you can listen to all the replays of every single one who has spoken. You can also get their contact information, whether it's Facebook or website or email, whatever they have provided me. And now all I can do is leave you all with a lot of love, and thank you so, so much, every single one of you who has shared also their experiences here on the chat and who has shared this time with me and with Kate. And a special thanks to you, Kate.
You're welcome.